Gary DePaul with Unlabeled Leadership. Episode 9, Tanae Wolfman leverages collaboration. Giving openings for others to lead is critical. So with that, let's get started. If you believe that anyone could lead, then authority has nothing to do with leadership. To lead, you leverage other skills. And that is something Tanae Wolfman has discovered. Tanae has worked in global organizations and human resources and the talent development function of those companies. When she manages programs or projects, she does so without using authority. When you get to know Tanae, you'll not only figure out that collaboration is important for her, but also she's a steward. Here's what I mean by that. A steward is someone who takes care of something or a group of people, property. An example from way back when in my life, I found a steward who worked in a union that took care of a group of people. He looked out for their interest. Well, Tanae does the same thing at a smaller scale. She gives back to individuals in her personal and professional life, helping them excel and develop. And that's something I admire about Tanae, how she can practice stewardship in that way. And she reminds me that stewardship isn't about the big stuff, such as giving back to a profession, doing podcasts, lecturing, keynote speaking to help people in masses, but it's also about the individual level. In her stories, I think you'll appreciate what she has to share from the perspective of collaboration and stewardship. Part 1, Don't Hesitate, and Learning Outside Your Comfort Zone. In a previous episode, I talked with the guest about learning outside and inside your comfort zone. The two are very different. When you're comfortable doing something, learning tends to be fine-tuning, just getting a little bit better. But real learning, the big stuff, happens when you push yourself outside your comfort zone, when you're doing something that is uncomfortable for you. Tanae shares a story that helped her function outside of her comfort zone when working with other people. Here she is.
A manager once said to me, "Don't hesitate." I had to think about that because I am comfortable in my own box. And so I really needed to reach out to others in order to learn and grow. An example of that was while working in HR, my manager tasked me with leading a data management project. I scheduled meetings with the managers on our team to discuss the policy as well as identify the data that needed to be reviewed. Okay. I met with each of the managers to identify a team member that I could work with on the project. I created a project template, a plan, and met with the team members weekly to track their progress. The end result of that was the team members provided managers with the progress updates. Management was able to see what data had been reviewed and what still needed to be reviewed. At the end of the project, all managers and data complied with the policy, meeting the goals of my manager.
What I'm hearing you saying is that when you met with the different departments and they assigned people to work with you, by doing that, they were assuming some of the ownership of the project that you were doing.
Yes, I needed them to take ownership. I sought their input, and the result of that was gaining their buy-in.
And it was a way of also enabling them to collaborate with you to building this. So it wasn't just that they had accountability and ownership. They also had the opportunity to help build, direct, and shape how the data management was being built.
Yes, I would agree completely. The managers knew exactly what data needed to be reviewed, and according to the policy and complying with that, we worked together to make sure that the project was on track and data that needed to be purged or kept would be retained according to the policy.
How did you build the trust? Part of that is the project templates and being organized and what you're asking them, how else did you build trust?
I asked for their input, their feedback to things that I was recommending, as well as the plan that I had put together based on our conversations. It was collaboration with the managers.
Those words, "don't hesitate," help trigger a lot of this activity and encourage you to meet with the different players and to get their buy-in and input and feedback.
Yes, definitely. One of the things, when I think about hesitating, I think about my comfort zone. I really needed to step outside of that comfort zone and lead the effort for the team. Even though I had accountability for getting it accomplished, they also had accountability for managing their data. And I was able to successfully get everybody on the same page and be able to achieve the data being retained according to the schedule.
I like how you phrase that. It's "don't hesitate" was an encouragement to get out of your comfort zone and, in a sense, expand what you're comfortable with. Because I am going to bet that after that experience, you're very comfortable with doing that again.
I am very comfortable doing that again. I've always been courageous and willing to have conversations, but there is a level of fear of doing something new or different. I just jumped in. I asked how it is I can help, and the more questions I asked, the more we got to identifying what the process needed to look like and creating that plan.
You could learn from within your comfort zone, but real in-depth learning and growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
It's very true. I have heard that in other arenas. I agree completely.
Part 2, creating opportunities for others to lead. Leadership can come from any direction, from all levels of the organization. Doesn't matter what the career level is. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't know how to tap into that. Metaphorically, we don't know who to hand the microphone to let that voice be heard. It happens too often in organizations. Tanae has found a way to do that, to hand the microphone, so to speak, to just about anyone. This story illustrates what I mean. Here's Tanae.
Similar to the data management project, I was tasked with creating a SharePoint site for HR to enable global collaboration. I trained HR leaders how to use SharePoint and granted members access, as well as creating the structure of the site. I sought input from the HR leaders regarding the structure itself. The leaders looked to me for guidance and support to creating their web pages in SharePoint. HR ultimately was able to collaborate across the globe, share resources, and build stronger relationships with their teams.
Yeah, so this is just another really good example of how you collaborated with multiple people. And I bet when you did the training for the HR managers and people to use it, that also helped with getting their buy-in and insights and commitment to using this.
It did. I was able to really communicate with the leaders about the site and how it worked and how it could work for them and their team.
A large part of what you were just describing, again, goes right back to collaboration. That seems to be a theme that's really kind of represents a lot of how you lead.
Definitely. I do lead by collaboration. I like to involve others, bring everybody to the party, ask them the question. If for whatever reason they don't want to participate or they don't find value in it, tell me.
There's two underlying beliefs that go with collaborating with others, and that is that leadership doesn't reside in one person, which I think you're illustrating with your story. And the second is that influence comes from all directions. You're actually opening the opportunity and maybe inspiring, might not be pushing it, but encouraging others to step up to the plate, so to speak, and contribute.
I always look for others' perspectives. When you say stepping up to the plate, I am looking for someone to share their experience and their story with me. Then how can I help them?
Yeah, and that opens up other opportunities as well as building trust.
I will go back to trust as being a key component of developing the relationships that I have and continue to develop today.
Part 3, how will you show up today? Those who are serious about developing leadership not only improve skills that enhance how they lead, they develop techniques that enable them to become better at leadership, practicing leadership. Tanae shares one of her techniques with us. Here's Tanae.
We often make lots of to-do lists in our work, at home, trying to make sure that everything is covered. So one of the things that I always want to look at is how I show up every day. I think about don't hesitating, just doing it is how I want to show up every day. Every day I go to work, every day at home, I want to help. I want to help others be successful. I want to make sure that I'm doing that in value-added manners. Write it down. I write mine down, whether you journal, whether you add it to a list, I would write it down. Make it an action item.
That also is something I'm beginning to hear people do more of. Don't hesitate is a great example of a guiding principle for you. Documenting that and starting your day reviewing your list of principles and beliefs is a way of grounding yourself and resetting your moral compass or your guiding direction. I
Yeah.
think that's huge.
Thank you. It's how I want to show up and how I want to be every day. So no matter what I'm working on or what I'm doing at home, I always want to be there to help.
Yeah, because it even carries over into your personal life with family.
Yep, absolutely. So one of the things that I can do to help my husband is to set a goal and say, today I'm going to take care of the dog all day. He doesn't have to worry about the dog. He doesn't have to take the dog out. He doesn't have to feed it. All he has to do is give the dog love.
That's great. It also shows that as human beings, we cannot compartmentalize our personal and work lives. They're so intertwined, especially in this COVID-19 work from home experience that so many people are going through right now.
Oh, I would totally agree. I was on a networking call yesterday, and one of the women on the call, she had just been let go from her job in October. She took some time for, self-reflection and to take care of herself. But now she's focused on getting back into the workforce and everything that involves. While I didn't have anything scheduled, we ended up meeting for an hour and a half, maybe hour 45 minutes yesterday. I offered to talk with her, help her with her resume, as well as answer any other questions that she had on the process.
That is great. You said something about her experience about self-reflection, and I'm curious, when you have a to-do list, when you start your day and essentially ground your compass, so to speak, or just revisit it, is there reflection involved in that as well from the previous day, for example?
Oh, absolutely. I have my to-do list, and it's a running to-do list, if you will. I look at it the night before and then I look at it in the morning, because there is a certain time, where you do have to step away from focusing on some of that. You have other things you need to do. I chose to look at it in the evening, make sure that I'm aware of what's coming up the next day, but then checking into emails and also what is on the schedule for the day in the morning, just to see if anything shifted. I live by that.
My thanks to Tanae for joining us. If you want to learn more about Tanae, go to the show notes for a link to her profile on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or comments you want to make about the show, go to unlabeledleadership.com, click the message icon. You can leave a voice message up to 1 minute. I might play it on the air. Also, go to iTunes if you want and rate the show. If there was something that helped you in the show, leave a message about what it was. Maybe I'll read it on the air. If you want to support the show, there's a support icon at unlabeledleadership.com. 99 cents can go a long ways to help with the show's quality. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. With that, lead on.